2. By the time Jenna arrived back at the house around 3 p.m., the party had already begun. Her former mother-in-law, Anne, had texted me about 30 minutes earlier, signaling that she and Jenna were leaving downtown and on their way. So in between mingling with guests, I had been keeping an eye on the driveway, waiting for the silver Mercedes to pull in. I ran out to greet Jenna, for this would be the moment of surprise, as there was no way to hide the half-dozen cars parked on the back lawn. As she exited Anne's sedan, her eyes flashed to the vehicles, and then to me. "Now what did you do?" she asked playfully, recognizing that a celebration awaited her. "Just a gathering of friends for the birthday girl, to show you how much we love and appreciate you," I replied, and we shared a warm hug and a quick kiss. I wanted to be respectful to Anne. "So you were in cahoots with this guy the whole time, huh?" Jenna beamed. "Oh, I can keep secrets," Anne smiled in return. "Anne, just pull in right over there," I said, pointing to an open area next to the road that would provide an easy exit for her. "Oh, I appreciate the invitation, Alex, but I'm all partied out for the day. Jenna and I had a lovely time. Thank you for sharing her with me. But this is a hard time for me, honey," she said, placing her hand through the window to squeeze my forearm. Through her touch, I could feel her searching for strength and quickly decided not to try and persuade her. I'd met Anne and her husband David several times, once for dinner at their house a few miles away. I found them to be generous spirits, genuinely supportive of my relationship with Jenna despite the challenging circumstances. "I understand," I said as I moved my hand to cover hers, offering a return squeeze. I thanked her for her role in getting Jenna out of the house so I could prepare for the party, and stepped away from the car. Jenna opened the driver's side door to duck in and hug Anne farewell, and when the two released each other, both women wiped tears from their eyes. I'd weighed the risk of hosting a surprise celebration at the house, given that the 5-year anniversary of her husband's death had passed just a few days before. The previous 2 years, I'd just followed her lead, and we'd gone out for a quiet dinner together. But this year, it felt like time for something different. I wanted to mark her birthday by gathering her closest friends so that they could glimpse the life that we shared. Most of the invitees were couples, some with kids who'd been friends with Jenna and Jason before his passing. I'd spent some time with most of them previously, and like Jason's parents, they were all good people who made an effort to welcome me into their circle. Still, I had yet to fully shake the feeling of being an interloper, both in these sorts of gatherings and in my relationship with Jenna. My thought was that by hosting a party, I could make Jenna happy and create some fresh memories for everyone, ones that included me. By all accounts, Jason was a stellar person whose freakish death rocked everyone who knew him. He'd collapsed at an outdoor music festival and was taken to an emergency room where a pair of doctors diagnosed him with heat stroke, despite Jason's friend Nick telling both the doctors and the nurse that he believed Jason had gotten stung. Because of the misdiagnosis, when Jason was stung again a few weeks later, he went into anaphylactic shock and died before he arrived at the hospital. Jenna sued the physicians for malpractice and won. The jury awarded her $6.2 million in total damages. Whenever I was around someone who'd been close to him, the trauma of his passing never seemed far from the surface. Jason's memory was never the elephant in the room. Quite the opposite, in fact. His friends liked to talk about him, to share stories and to laugh. Sometimes there were tears as well, but the general attitude toward death, that by talking about the person you keep them alive, felt much healthier than the family dynamic that surrounded my mother's long goodbye. Of course, Jason still occupied space between Jenna and me. During our second date, she laid it all out there, told me everything. Said she still loved Jason, a fact that she couldn't see changing over time, but also knew it was time to move forward. She liked me, she said, wanted to see me again. But she gave me the out, saying she would understand if this was as far as I wanted to go. "Just be honest and tell me if you feel like this is too much for you," she'd say. She'd gone out with one other guy since dipping her toe in the dating pool, and she'd been straight with him too. He'd said it was fine, but then ghosted her, and it pissed her off. I didn't even really like the guy, she laughed, showing her impossibly perfect smile. I was gone from the moment I laid eyes on Jenna, something that never happened to me before. Her blue eyes struck my heart like lightning. I've been through some things too, I told her, right before we shared our first kiss and made plans to go out again. We'd been together ever since. Jenna, me, and Jason. I entered the relationship with my eyes open, but that didn't mean they didn't stink sometimes. Another reason for the party? Lately, it felt like Jenna and I weren't synced up, like our timing was off, and part of me hoped that planning a special gathering for her would allow us to press reset and reconnect. All relationships go through cycles, I know, and taking a helicopter view of my life, I had nothing to complain about, though sometimes I found a way. Growing up in a dying mill town in upstate New York, I never once imagined living outside of a major city 3,000 miles away in the Pacific Northwest. And yet, here I was, settled into our beautiful waterfront home on Lake Issaquah, 18 minutes, depending on traffic, from downtown Seattle. On a clear day, we could sit on our couch in the living room, look through a wall of glass overlooking the lake, and drink in a view of Mount Rainier. If you've not seen it, the mountain never fails to strike me as impossibly massive, a lone giant dwarfing the surrounding peaks. I'm not ashamed to tell you that the sight of it has moved me to tears on more than one occasion, as if I were seeing God. I had been raised Catholic, but I left it behind along with Baker's Falls when I was off to college at 17, I suppose because the religion never evoked a similar feeling of connection. I work from home, my office occupying one of the 2 extra bedrooms on the lower level of the house. There were 2 more bedrooms on the main level, the primary that she and I shared, and another that served as Jenna's office. Before Jason passed, Jenna worked as an engineer at Boeing. These days, she spent most of her time at the yoga studio she launched about 10 months ago. She loved it, the teaching, the training, and creating a community from scratch. I was happy for her, of course. But the downside was that most weekdays she wasn't home before 7 or 8 o'clock, and her Saturday mornings were spoken for so consistently that I'd fallen into the habit of planning my weekends without her. So yes, I felt a drift between us. I asked Anne to request a date with Jenna 2 months prior, knowing that she would clear her schedule for Anne and allow me to pull off the party. I wasn't sure she'd have held the day if I'd requested she do so just for me. To be clear, I'd supported her vision for the studio. In fact, I'd spent many hours there remodeling the bathroom, installing lights and mirrors, fixing the walls, and painting the space. I turned up for a class or 2 every week as well. But now, I just missed her. It was that simple. I wanted more of her company and attention. There'd been a recent day when the clouds parted and the mountain revealed itself. The lighting was so magical, I started yelling upstairs for her to come share the experience with me, only to realize that I was home alone, again. I'd made a point to share that experience with her, and she said she understood and promised the extended hours were only temporary. She didn't want to be this busy either, she said. I buried the counter-argument on the tip of my tongue and tried to mine new reserves of patience. But my feelings of resentment continued to grow. Looking back now, having done some work with my coach, I can see how my motives for throwing the party were at least partially driven by my own needs. Certainly, I wanted to create a memorable day for Jenna. I'd done all the planning, so her only job was to show up and enjoy herself. I had the food catered, bought the beer and wine, and managed the guest list. I'd even do all the cleanup. This was my gift to her. But when I gave myself in this way, it was never completely pure. I wanted some things in return. For my reward, I wanted to look into her eyes and know that I was her man. I wanted her friends to like me and to see the tangible evidence of my commitment in our relationship. We hadn't hosted a housewarming, wanting to wait until the renovations were complete. I'd redesigned the kitchen, doing most of the work myself and laying out about $40,000 in expenses. The project had turned out beautifully, if I do say so myself. I'd made most of the decisions. Of course, I'd asked Jenna for her preferences, but she simply didn't care about these things, or any things, really. as much as I did, nor was she especially interested in cooking. Once that was clear to both of us, I took the helm, chipping away at the project most days after my coaching calls at Blackstone and writing were done. The work took almost 4 months, but now everything was done. Modern lighting, top shelf appliances, granite counters, a gorgeous double farm sink. Like any home project, the work was twice as complicated as expected, but most days I liked the work. Using my hands to make things fit provided a pleasant contrast from living in my head all day with my work. This day would be for Jenna, yes, but I also foresaw it as our coming out party as a couple. Things were off to a good start as everyone milled about in the kitchen space with smiles all around, the women oohing and ahhing over my work, playfully chiding their husbands to step up their games at home. I won't pretend I didn't love feeling seen in this way. With a wave, the Mercedes pulled away, heading back towards Anne's house a few miles down the lake. "You okay, baby?" I asked, wrapping an arm around her petite toned frame. "Yeah, I'm fine," she replied with a big exhale, fanning her hand in front of her eyes to evaporate the tears. It can still feel like a lot, you know?" I nodded and stroked her shoulder as we held each other. The sound of music from the lakeside deck pumped in the distance. "Sounds like a party in there," she said, nodding her head toward the house. "Yes, it is. Surprise!" I replied, hoping my playful tone would coax her perfect white teeth to reveal themselves with a smile. "How was she?" I asked. "About the same as me," she replied, "but it was good to see her and talk." I could see the tears forming in the corner of her eyes and second-guessed myself for setting up a date with Anne before the party. As we turned toward the house, Jenna's friend Sasha called out from the back porch. "Surprise! Let's go, birthday girl. There's a lot of food in here and we've been waiting for you to eat it, so drag it," she teased. Jenna broke into a smile now and turned to me, her tone brightening. "How do I look?" she asked, patting her fingertips to the corners of her eyes to blot the tears away. "You are the most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes upon," I said, meaning it. "Smart boy," she said, snaking her arm around my waist as we began walking toward the house. "I hope you have a drink ready for me in there because I'm ready for one," she added.